Computer. So welcome today to Val King, formerly of the Rooflight Company. I've known Val for a number of years, and she'd come to us for one of our interviews that we do for members of Oxford Business Leaders. Val, do you want to tell me a bit about your background? But before you do, I'll just say that I'm Alan Kennedy, and I'm the leader of Oxford Business Leaders, and also, or the organizer, and also for many years I've run entrepreneurial businesses, and I'm now coaching small businesses. So Val, tell me a bit more about your background, what you do and how you, what you've done in the past. Yeah. Okay.
So in the past year, which has been a bit of a roller coaster for everyone, I handed over the role of managing director of the Rooflight Company, which is a manufacturing business in the Cotswolds with 70 people, handed over that role to Steve, our operations director, who took it over. And so I'm now trustee. My husband and I started the business in the 90s, and we made it and grew it to a reasonable level. And we're very proud of the way that it's a values-led business. But we decided about 4 years ago to sell it to employees. And so in March last year, we sold it to employees, and then I took about a year to hand over to our operations director. And yesterday, in fact, I was at a trustee meeting, and things are going really well, I'm pleased to say.
Okay, and how big was the Rooflight Company?
It was 70 employees over 2 sites.
Wow, and so it kept going for 20 years, 70 employees. That must put you in the top 2 or 3% of businesses, I guess, because only 1 in 10 last 10 years, and very few make it to that size. So well done to you, Val. That sounds really good. So just tell me a bit more about your decision to sell to an employee ownership trust.
So it was really a process of elimination. We were approached by one of our competitors who saw a possibility for them as far as selling to architects were concerned, because we had a good franchise with architects. But we realized then that they would probably dismantle most of the business. They have manufacturing in Poland. And so we knew from then that really the chances of our employees continuing their employment was very low. And that helped us to understand the importance of the legacy that we have, as well as the protection of our employees in the future. And that pointed us towards an employee ownership model, which we finally did take up.
Right. Yes, because being an accountant by training and inclination, I always took the view that trade sales were much better because you got better prices. So why on earth would you want to sell to your employees, some of whom may or may not have the skill set to take on the new role and might not have your enthusiasm?
So there's two different aspects to where we were a few years ago. Firstly, it was really important to me to develop people to their full potential. So I led a leadership team, which were a team of people who were really able in what they were doing. But also from the point of view of necessarily getting better value for our business, I'm not sure whether we would have got the amount that we did. One of the key advantages of selling to an employee ownership trust, which means selling at least 51% of the business, is that you don't pay capital gains tax. So it's too difficult for me. It's impossible to say whether the net amount that we will get is more or less than a trade sale. But I think that it's important to bear in mind that capital gains tax is a substantial amount of money in any deal.
Yeah.
So with the employee ownership model, you do have to think about succession planning very carefully and actually implement it.
Okay, so what is your process that you follow for consulting on employee ownership? Because I know you're a member of the Employee Ownership Association. Tell me about your process and a bit more about your membership of the Employee Ownership Association.
Yes, so as a member of the membership council, it's my job to promote the idea of employee ownership. But employee ownership is not for everyone. As a future, it's just one ownership model of many. A management buyout might be a better model. So what I have is a business exit audit, which is based on a model called ReadyMap, which is developed by James Shand, who I think some certainly members of OBL will know. So we've developed questions which help to clarify the business owner in terms of what they really want and what's right for them. So I would never direct someone towards employee ownership if it wasn't right for them. It might be that that an MBO or a trade sale is better. So the idea of this is to get clarity, to help the person to get clarity on what's important for them, to get this business reality check. How saleable is the business? Because it's all very well to say, well, I'd love to have a trade sale, but if no one wants to buy the business, then that is off the table. So we cover 8 areas, including legacy, including how important customers and employees are to the business owner, as well as the remuneration timescale and the valuation itself. So that helps the business owner to step back from the business and to get a real sense of what's important to them. Because sometimes when you're, and I've been in that in those shoes, it's hard to get a real fix on what the future is going to be, and especially when you're thinking about your own obsolescence in many ways, because you're going to eventually not be in the business. So it helps to just help that person to step back from the business and look at it with clearer eyes.
That's lovely. That's brilliant. So you're not speaking to my inner child, I love people telling me what to do, but you're not going to do that, are you? You're going to help me make my own decisions. Is that correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Yes, it's basically a lot of coaching and to some extent mentoring, in the sense of I've been in their shoes, so I can maybe help to say, well, this is here's some options, but it's not telling people what to do. It was such an important decision, and it is probably one of the biggest decisions any business owner will make in their lives. It's so important to sort of dig deep and then find out what is important to them. And everyone is going to be different. Every single business is different. And going back to the employee ownership model, there are so many different structures associated with that model, which are right for some businesses and not right for others. So it's such a personal thing and again, this audit really helps to try and give you that clarity about what's important to you.
Right. That sounds really good, Val. I think just in conclusion, to say I've known Val for a long time. Her company locally, the Rooflight Company, was highly respected. As I walked around the village where it's based, employees would come up to me and say, she's an amazing employer and she's done so much for this company. If you want the same sort of feelings and the same sort of results, she got an amazing price for the Rooflight Company, then do come and have a chat to her and go through her consultation process. It's extremely good value for money. I've tested her quite heavily on the price, and I can thoroughly recommend it. So that's Alan Kennedy and Val King from Oxfordshire Business Leaders, just talking a bit about just another way of exiting a business that you've built up over many years. Thank you very much for listening, and now back to the studio.